time I try out a pen, I just write, my name is Kunal, since I was like 5 years old for some reason. It's like in my instinct. Okay, let's get started without wasting any more minutes. Is it recording? I think it's recording. Cool. So bit manipulation. What is bit manipulation? So let me also turn off this thing. It's actually giving me the, how do I turn this thing off? No notifications. Okay. So yeah, bit manipulation is something we were now talking about. So basically the idea is that we are trying that, let's say in computers. Yeah, I found it. Okay. Cool. So in computers, basically what happens is your numbers are stored into bits. So there are a lot of number systems in the world. Can anyone tell me which number system we are using, like normally since we were kids? Decimal number system, right? And can anyone tell me why we are using decimal number system? What might be the reason?
Yeah, I use
10 fingers. Yeah, because we have 10 fingers. Nice. Cool. So similarly, there's like, binary numbers. There are binary numbers. There's like octal, hexadecimal, for example. So in computers, the digits and everything is stored in binary numbers. For example, if I'm saying that the number 10 in decimal format, if I try to write this in binary format, it's actually going to be 1010 in binary format. How did I find this? Very simple. Divided by 2, 2 5s are 10, remainder 0. 2 2s are 4, remainder 1. 2 1s are 2, remainder 0. Whatever remainders that you have like this, write it in reverse order. This is going to be 1010 base 2. Answer. Cool. So in the computer, actually, it's going to be stored in this way. Now we can perform a lot of bit manipulation whenever you're adding, subtracting, deleting, and doing all these things. Actually, what happens is that the computer converts, like does all of these calculations in like yeah, it's like you can get all sorts of numbers like this. You can get octal by just dividing by 8. You can get hexadecimal by dividing by 16, and you can do the reverse of this in order to get the other numbers. All right, but that is not what we're talking about here. So we are talking about why bit manipulation. So basically, it's a bit faster. Yeah, bit manipulation. It's a bit faster. Nice one. Okay, so it's a little faster, and that is actually how computers, calculate your sums and products and everything. So let's try to look into a few examples here. There are a few bitwise operators that we'll look into first, and then we'll look into like some of the, some of the exercises and problems and stuff. Okay, so first one is the bitwise AND, very simple stuff. And so this basically means that if you do, basically, if you do something like, if you have a number, b number, 0 0 1 1 0 1 0 1, a and b should basically be something like this. So both of these should be true. So 0 and 0 will give 0. 0 basically means, let's say, false. 1 means true. 0 and 1 will be 0. 1 and 0 will be 0. 1 and 1 will be 1. Okay. So for example, if I'm saying 5 bitwise and 3. So this is going to give me, what is the representation of 5 in binary? Divide by 2. 2 2s are 4, 1. 2 1s are 2, 0. So it's actually 0 1 0 1. And what is the representation of 3 in binary? 3 is actually 0 0 1 1. I just need to do an AND of this. What is the AND of this going to be? 1 and 1 is equal to 1. 0 and 1 is equal to 0, 0, 0. This actually gives me 1. Does that make sense? Sound good to everyone? Okay. But this is very boring stuff. Like, okay, we are doing this. Like we all know we are doing this. But what is like the use case? Use case is something we'll look into shortly. Okay. So basically what we're trying to do is, let's say a question is given to you. Now you are asking for a use case, right? You're given a number. Number is given, let's say n. Find if it's odd or even. How would you do that? Anyone? You can unmute yourself or send it in the text.
You can do an AND with one of the number using bitways.
Exactly. So if you do AND with that number 1, that is going to give you what? You can do modulo division as well. That's true. But this is a little bit more efficient approach. So instead of doing modulo, so we can do modulo as well. So n modulo 2 is equal to 1 means odd, otherwise means even. Man, I love this thing. It's like my writing is coming out pretty neat. Okay. After that, basically, instead of doing this, this is one approach. Second approach is n and 1. If this is giving you 1, it means this is odd. This is giving you 0. It means this is even. Because bitwise operators always perform on the basis of bits. So for example, if n is equal to 5, right? So it's like 0, 1, 0, 1. If I AND this with 1, all the other digits that are empty, this will be 0. 1 and 1 is 1. And you know that since this is 0, it does not matter what comes over here because this entire thing will be 0 because here we have 0. So anything AND with 0 gives 0. So only thing we need to consider is what is this bit. Okay. This bit is going to be 1. If this last digit is 1, this bit is going to be 0 if this last digit is 0. Okay. But now the question is, why am I saying that when this is 1 that it means it's, odd? Lalo, you raise your hand. No? Okay. So basically, if you look at binary numbers 0, 1, 0, 1, if I want to convert this into decimal number, the one that the form that we can read, we can do it via this way. Take 2 raised to power 0 plus 2 raised to power 1 plus, because this is a base 2 raised to power 3, so on and so forth. Now we will just do multiplied by, this is getting very dirty. Let me just rewrite this. So we have the question 0, 1, 0, 1 in binary. What is this equal to in normal format? So how many digits that you have? You have 4 digits. Start from left, 2 raised to power 1, 0, 2 raised to power 1, plus 2 raised to power 2, plus 2 raised to power 3. So you have 4 digits, 4 numbers over here. Then just multiply this with this. Multiply this here, this with this with this, and this with this. Multiply by 1, multiply by 0, multiplied by 1, multiplied by 0. This will be cancelled out because multiplied by 0 is 0. 0 plus 2 to the 4, 4 into 1, 1, plus 0 plus 2 raised to power 0 is 1, 1 into 1 is 1, equal to 4 plus 1, 5. Here we have our answer. This makes sense to everyone? Sound good? Do you understand how I was able to convert it from binary to decimal? Can you move forward? Okay. So we were considering, when we were checking whether the number is odd or even, we were considering this last bit. Let's only consider this. What is this? This is actually 2 raised to power 0 into whatever the bit is, right? This is actually equal to 1 into whatever the bit is. This is actually equal to whatever the bit is. And this particular thing is at the ones place. In the number system, we have ones, tens, 100, 1,000, 10,000. So this is at the ones place. So we all know if at the ones place, we have like, we have, it will either have like 1 or 0. So if it has 1, then it's going to be odd. Otherwise, it's going to be even. Because see, if we are adding, see, because it's very simple. The thing is, all of these numbers, let me write this again. Let me explain this in a clear way. Forget about what I said. Does not matter how much big of a number I have. If I expand this, this is basically 2 raised to power 0 into 1 plus 2 raised to power 1 plus 2 raised to power 2 plus 2 raised to power 3 plus 2 raised to power 4 plus 2 raised to power 5 plus 2 raised to power 6, whatever. Can you all see that always at any cost in the entire history, this is always going to be even? Can you see? Can you even see that? Because 2 raised to power 1 plus 2 raised to power 2, 2 raised to power 3, 2 raised to power 4, 2 raised to power 5, 2 raised to 6. This will always be even. Does that make sense to everyone? The only thing that will determine whether the whole number is even or not is this thing. So if this is equal to 1, then the whole number will be odd, because even plus 1 is odd. If this is 0, then the whole number will be what? Even, because even plus 0 is even. That is why when the last digit is 1, in the bitwise operator, we are saying that this is odd. Otherwise, we are saying this is even. Make sense? So now, does it make sense why we are actually ignoring this thing? Because we are only considered with this. This in any case will be even. Sound good? Pretty cool stuff. All right, moving on to the next one. So next operator is OR operator, bitwise OR. Should not be clearing this. I could just save this as a PDF and send you the notes. Never mind. I'll do it later on. Okay, bitwise OR. Bitwise OR means that anyone should give me true. Okay, so if you have two numbers, A or B, so this basically means any one of these should be true. None of this is true, so this is going to be false. False and true, true, true and false, true, true and true, true. That's about it. Cool. We'll do more questions on that later. But now to the interesting point. So now the interesting thing is the third one, which is XOR. Symbol is this. It's known as exclusive OR. Okay. What do I mean by exclusive OR? If I'm saying 1 XOR 1, this should give me 0. It basically means only odd number of elements should be true. In this, both of these are true, hence it's giving me 0. 0 XOR 1, odd number of elements are true, this is true. 1 XOR 0, odd number of elements are true, this is true. 0 XOR 0, no elements are true, 0. Sound good? So basically, if I'm saying any number XOR 1 is going to give me what? Can anyone tell me what this is going to give? It's actually going to give the complement of this number. We'll look more into complement later. If I'm saying any number XOR 0, what is this going to give? Any number XOR 0. So if I say 1 XOR 0 or 0 XOR 0. So when I did 1 XOR 0, I got 1. When I got 0 XOR 0, I did 0. So A XOR 0 is actually giving me A only. Similarly, any number XOR 1 is giving me, if I had any number A and I XOR it with 1, it gave me the opposite of A. Similarly, if I had any number A, I XOR it with 1, it gave me the opposite of A. That is why I have opposite of A here. Cool. And A XOR A is going to give me what? A XOR A, 0. A XOR A, 0, 0. Sound good? Any questions? Who is sending me these notifications? How do I turn off notifications? Yeah, nice. Do not disturb. Cool. Any questions? No questions? Can we move forward? Okay, don't see any questions here. So basically complement is nothing. Complement is like if I have a number A is equal to 11000101, then A complement is going to be equal to 0011 010. That's it. Just the opposite. Flip all the bits. All right, time for another question. So the question is, if you already know the answer, like if you have already done this before, then give others a chance. And if you come up with the answer right now, feel free to share. But if you already know the answer from beforehand, then give others a chance to think. So you are given an array. Okay, I just turned on do not disturb. Why is it still giving me notifications? Weird. Okay, so you're given an array. Let's say the array given to you is 2 1 1 3 4 4 2. And in this array, you can see every number is appearing twice, but 3 is occurring only once. Can you all see that? How do we find that? First, tell me the brute force approach. So you're given an array. Basically, the question is you are given an array or a list of numbers, and you need to find every number is occurring twice, but only one number is occurring once. You have to find which number is that.
I guess sort and then compare.
Sort and then compare. That is good. That's a nice way to put the brute force solution. So thanks a lot. Can anyone tell the time complexity for that as well? For each element, you iterate and look for the same number. If it's not there, you return it. Yeah, we can do that. You can use hash maps. You can use maps. Sorting is n log n. Yeah, that is true. You can sort using n log n. Then you'll have to check via n. So n plus n log n is actually n log n. All right. Got a lot of nice suggestions. Now to the main part. Can anyone tell me how we can do it in O of n in just one single pass?
I did it before, so.
Okay, let's give others a chance then.
Yeah.
If you've already done it before. If no one else says, then you can go ahead. Anyone who came up with the solution like right now? Big brain time, yes. Joe, yeah, you can use a hash map, but we are asking for a constant space linear time solution. Yep, Gabriel, that is correct. We can use that. Okay. Did we just learn that any two same numbers, if we XOR these two numbers, is equal to 0? And did we also learn that any number XOR with 0 is equal to 0? We just learned this thing, right? Now you can go ahead, you can share. Would you like to share? Anyone?
So what you can do is have kind of like a value that starts as 0, and then for each value in the array, you XOR the value you're storing by that number. And what ends up happening is that if you XOR a number twice by the same number, you end up kind of like switching it back to 0, like it cancels out. So if you loop through the whole thing, XORing the accumulator by each number, whatever you're left with will be something that appears an odd number of times. Yep,
that is correct. And I also see we got a lot of nice solutions for maps and stuff. But yeah, even though hash map is linear, it's using a space. So the space complexity is not constant. Actually, space complexity, if someone asks you in an interview, space complexity is actually equal to the input space plus auxiliary space. And this is the one that we are mostly concerned about. This is basically the extra space required to solve the problem. Cool. Okay. I want this to be constant. So basically the answer is XOR all the numbers and you will be left with the number that is that is like unique because of these two rules. Two same numbers when XORed will give you 0. So this and this will give 0. This and this will give 0. This and this will give 0. In the end, we will be remaining with 3, 0. And when we XOR these two, we will getting 3 because of this. Make sense?
Is the second statement right?
A XOR 0 is A. Sorry. Yep. Sound good?
I didn't really understand why it's O of n.
You're only iterating once throughout the array, right?
So
Yeah, but like how
That's
do
it.
you like
You
know
can-
which number to XOR it with? Because
you can actually XOR them in the order that they appear in the array, because XOR is whatchamacallit, commutative, so it doesn't matter
Commutative,
what order
yeah,
you XOR
yeah.
things in, and you'll still
Yeah,
get the
it does
same
not
result.
matter. Yeah, the order does not matter. It will still be the same result.
but I still don't understand like how is it X of n though, because you need to. If I were to XOR like 2 with 1, that wouldn't give me 0.
The thing is that XOR, like, I'm basically, we're talking about the time complexity here. So we're talking about how many, let's say, steps are being taken. So in this case, only n steps are being taken, right? We're not running any multiple nested for loops or anything. Just one single iteration of the loop. That's it. Only traversing the array once, not doing anything else. Make sense?
So the question isn't like, the question is like, how is it that looping through in the original order of the array, why does that give the right answer, even though like you're not doing the two XOR, you're not XORing two like next to each other, and you're not XORing.
Oh, because it follows the, that is a similar thing. Why is 2 plus 3 plus 4 equal to 4 plus 3 plus 2? Or why is 1 plus 2 plus 5 equal to 5 plus 1 plus 2? Transitive property. Similar thing is followed by XOR.
It's the commutative property, actually.
Commutative property. Someone said transitive in the chat. Whatever it might be, I don't remember, to be quite frank. It follows that property: associative, transitive, commutative, whatever. Emily, is that clear?
Would it be possible to code this? Because I still
Oh,
don't
we
really
can-
understand, but it's probably just me.
Okay, we can do it right now.
I would actually even consider doing a short version by hand. So just do like 1 2 3 1 2 3 2 1 as your array, and actually like XOR them
Yep.
in that order, like on a piece of paper, and like see what happens as you're doing that.
We can like also we can also code this thing, so no worries. Share screen, cracking the coding interview, bits and intervals. We also have to do interval level questions today. I'm gonna be quite frank with you all. This is not like obviously the complete stuff. This is enough to get you started, and you have to practice yourself as well. If you don't practice, then you will not get the intuition behind all these concepts. Practice is, practice makes perfect, and especially with like data structures algorithms, practice is key. So even though you'll be learning about all the algorithms and everything here, but please make sure you do practice as well. Okay, so we have an we have a list like or something like what did we have? We had 2, 3, 2, 1, 4, 4, 1. Okay, you can say for number in ARR, answer XOR equal to number, and in here I can say initially answer is 0. In the end, I can just say print my answer. That is it. As simple as that. Three. That is correct. Sound good?
Yeah, thank you.
How simple was it? Is there anything to do here? Just 2 lines of code. Very, very cool, right? Why were you using hash map and everything, right? It's very simple stuff. Okay, let's move forward because we have a lot to cover. What about if you have 2 single elements? A little bit of advanced topic. That's a good question, but it's a little bit advanced. Yeah. For that, there's a little bit of a different approach that is going to take like 30 minutes to explain. Good thing is there are a lot of YouTube videos on that, so you can watch it anytime. There's another question though. What if they were like, what if there was like 3 consecutive numbers? So no consecutive, no consecutive. This is another question we can discuss upon. Let me share my screen. Can you see the notes? Can you all see it? Okay. So another question is, all the numbers occur thrice, only one number occurs once. Example, array is equal to 2, 2, 1, 2, 1, 3, 4, 4, 1, 4. Every number is occurring 3 times, only one number is occurring once, which is 3. How do we find this? It's like I missed the chat. Any suggestions? You can do it as homework. That's fine. Basically, you have to actually look at the, okay, never mind. You can just try. Right back. Till that time, you can discuss. Any suggestions? Anyone who wants to suggest any brute force solution? George is correct. All right. So basically what you need to do is, this is actually not just for 3. It applies for any number appearing k times. Okay. So let's say you are given every number appears 4 times and only, or 5 times, and only one number appears only once. If it's even, you can just do simple XOR. If it's odd, then you can use this technique. Basically create an array. Okay. And all of these things are going to have binary representations. So let's try to add this in the binary representation. What the binary representation of 2? 1 0. This is done. 1 0. So means this is actually okay. I can say 1 0 1 0 1 1 0 1 1. Then I can say 4 is equal to actually 100.
There's a 1 between the 3 and the 4.
Where?
Or the 4th line, between the 4th and 5th line, I think there should be another 1.
Just 1 second. I'm just gonna clear this thing. Don't need his. Write it again. Okay, so basically this 2 is equal to 1 0 1 0 1. This is again 1 0 1 1 1 1 0 0 1 0 0 1 and 1 0 0. Here you can see, since this is occurring thrice, this is occurring thrice, this is occurring thrice, all the sum of these indices for these particular numbers will also be like divisible by 3, right? So if I make a sum of this, 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3. So if I just modulo this by 3, I'm going to get 0 1 1. What is this in 10 3? Answer. Make sense? See, this is occurring thrice, then all the bits of this number will also be occurring thrice. Make sense? If this 2 is occurring thrice, then all the bits of 2 will also be occurring thrice. Similarly, if 1 is occurring thrice, then all the bits of 1 will also be occurring thrice. Similarly, if 4 is occurring thrice, all the bits of 4 will be also occurring thrice. Right? So for example, we can then just keep the modulo, and what will be remaining? This will be remaining. Answer. How do you implement it? Very simple. You can create an array or something like that. And yeah, you can create an array and you can add numbers in that. It's very,
Excuse me,
I'd recommend you to, yeah, go ahead.
So I didn't understand how did you get number 3? So you have 4 number 1, and then you have another 4 numbers. Like you have 4 number 1s again, and then what's the 3 coming?
I have 3 number 1s, 3 number 2s, 3 number 4s, and only 1 number 3.
No.
Basically, what is the question?
3,
yeah, go ahead.
4.
Oh, I
So
just did a sum of this, and sum of this.
But that is 2. That's not 3.
Actually, you can try it again. So you can see 0 plus 0 plus 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 1, 2, 3, 3.
Okay.
Makes sense? Any questions? I know it was a bit confusing, so don't be hesitant. It's fine. You can ask. Regarding how to code it, you can do it on your own. I did it with mod 3 because, see, imagine if I did not have 3 over here. What would be the sum? Imagine now. If I did not have this 3, if I only had all the numbers that were occurring thrice, this will be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Does that make sense? At any point of time, this will always be equal to the modulo of that number, because that is the number of times that digit is occurring. So hence it is going to be modulo of that times. If I'm saying there's a number that contains a bit 1 at a particular index I, and that number is, let's say, occurring 5 times, then does it not make sense that if it's occurring 5 times, it will contain something like this? It's the same number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is what? 5. But here you added an extra thing. So if I added an extra thing over here, this will be given to me when I do a modulo 0, 1, 1. Sound good?
And you take the so you take the modulo with respect to what?
Modulo with this thing, the sum of the bits, basically. The sum of the bits. So basically modulo this, modulo this, modulo this, then you will be getting this thing. You can do this as any way you like. You can either do it in, take this as an entire number, for example, and basically what is 340? I don't think that is, no, not an entire number. You have to do it individually. So individually modulo of each and every digit. Imagine this as an array. So it's going to be very simple then. Why am I using 3? It's because it's given in the question that every number occurs 3 times. So that is the reason we're using 3. Let's say, okay, imagine something like this. Imagine we are given a number that occurs 3 times like this. Let's say we have number 2, 2, 2, 5, 5, 5, 7, 7, 7. If I write this in binary representation, then I can just say, yeah, exactly. If you have repeating 4 characters, you do modulo of 4. So basically, every number is occurring thrice. So if every number is occurring thrice, then their set bits will also be occurring thrice, right? It's very simple. If a number is occurring thrice, then the actual representation of that number will also be occurring thrice. You can test that out. 2, 2, 2, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0. Is this not occurring thrice? Cool. 5. What is 5 in binary? 1, 0, 1. So 1, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1. Is this not occurring thrice? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Similarly, 7 is what? 7 is 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Is this not occurring thrice? Thrice plus thrice plus thrice. Is that not equal to the modulo of 3? 3 plus 3 plus 3, that's a modulo of 3. So this is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So modulo with 3 is going to give me 0. But if I have some other number like 1 over here, in that case, I'll just add 1 here. So now 1 will be here, 1 will be here. Autumn's question is, if we use 32-bit words, is the runtime going to be 32 raised to power n? No, wait a minute, let's calculate. So let's calculate what the complexity of this is going to be. Okay, so this array is itself going to use, let's say, it's going to use in constant extra space because the count will be equal to the number of bits, and it's going to take, I believe, O of n time, because for every number, yeah. For
What?
every number, no, it's going to take, yeah. Go ahead, you were saying something.
Is there a faster way to decompose the number into its bits and add them to the array other than with a while loop?
Yes, we can use something like left shift and right shift operator.
You would still
There's
need to
something
loop. You still need to loop
still
through
need
the
to
number
loop.
though.
Yeah, so the outer loop will be the size of the number, and the inner loop will be actually every single number, like this.
Okay.
Yep.
So there's no way to like get rid of the loop the size of the number.
No, I think we'd have to think about it, but from my understanding, I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure this is going to be O of n. I'll send you the link as well. There's a question, you can find this question on Geeks for Geeks. Over there it's mentioned the similar solution with O of n time. So just Google it and you'll find it. But anyway, is the intuition clear? Like, are you all able to understand why we are doing this? Would this work for previous example as well? Yes, it would work for the previous example, but if the number of repeating characters is even, you just need to do an XOR. That's it. This is the approach for odd numbers, but it would work. Yeah. Okay, let's move forward then. So another operator, left shift operator. The very important symbol is this. Basically, if I say 10 left shift 1, it is basically going to say what is the binary representation of 10. Saying is actually 0. This is the binary representation of 10. Left shift basically means this is actually 10. Left shift basically means add a 0 in the front. Okay, move it once towards the right. Move this entire thing towards the left. If I move this entire thing towards the left and put a 0 over here, this actually becomes 1010, putting a 0 here. This is actually equal to 20 in decimal format. If I do a left shift of this again, this will be 10100, adding one more 0 in the end. This is actually 40. Can anyone see what pattern we are following here? If I left shift a number a by 1, what is that going to give me? Can anyone tell me? Via this example. Twice of a. Awesome. Nice. So basically, if I'm saying, if I am doing, the formula can be a left shift b times is actually going to be equal to a into 2 raised to power b. So if b is equal to 1, then a left shift 1 is equal to 2a. If b is equal to 2, then a left shift 1 is equal to 4a, so on and so forth. Sound good? This is the formula.
For the second line, I think you meant to write a left shift 2.
Yep, sorry. A left shift 2, 4a. Sound good? Okay. Next one is the sixth one, right shift operator. It's the opposite of this. So can anyone tell me what this might be? If I'm saying a number, let's say 0010. If I'm doing right shift of this, so this is equal to 12. Right shift basically means remove this last bit, right? And put a 0 behind it. So basically, if I remove this thing, 011 000, it's actually equal to 6. Sound good? A divided by 2. So A right shift B times is equal to A divided by 2 raised to power B. Cool. Sound good? So now another question for you all can be, find the ith bit of a number. That is what you need to do. Yeah, sometimes you might run into bugs with bits and stuff, so you have to take care of it. But the question is, find the ith bit of a number. Let's say a number is given like, 1 0, first game 1 1 0. And the question is, what is the fifth bit? Example 0 1 2 3 4 5. Oh, sorry, 1 2 3 4 5. It's if I'm taking from the one, first bit, second, third, fourth, fifth. This is the fifth bit. How do I find this? Can anyone tell me? Extract the ith bit of the number. Extract the ith bit of the number. Autumn is saying this number left shift I bits. Yep, that is correct. Nope, no, that is not correct. We actually have to do the left shift. So basically the idea is that if I have this number 0 1 0 1 1 0, you have to create a mask. I need to AND this with a mask and get my answer. So basically, in order to get the answer, what is at this particular bit, I just need to do an AND of something like this, right? Just put a 1 between it, like just put a 1 below this number for which you want to get the answer. This will give you the answer. If this was 1, it will give you 1. If this was 0, it will give you 0. Sound good? And this is something that you can do via doing something like this. So if you're asked the fifth bit, then what you can do is 1 left shift 4 times, right? So you'll get this. So n minus 1 time. Okay. Similarly, you can set ith bit as well and do all these things. But then you can reset. Yeah, go ahead.
Does the right shift method still work?
Might work, might not work. Take an example, run it. If it's giving the correct answer, then it's working. There's so many ways by which you can do a lot of things in Bitwise. So I haven't tested it out, but if you get the right answer by doing a trial run, most probably it's working. Try for a little bit of bigger number and try to write a code for that as well. But let's look into a more interesting problem. So the question is, do we have time? We have 1 hour. Charged. So the question is, find the position of the rightmost set bit. So basically, if you're given something like 0 1 1 0 1 1 0, looking from the right towards the left, which is the first particular bit that is 1? So the second bit is 1, so answer is 2. How do we do that? while n and 1, okay. Shift left until 0. Yeah, till there is a 0 you can shift left, but that is not going to give me 2. I need to get rid of these as well. My answer should be this 1 0. Okay, Autumn is saying right shift, while n and 1 is 0. Yeah, till then you can do, but then you have to remove this thing as well. Then you can take a counter. Yeah, that would work. That would work. So that's correct. Could you do it in one step, one single step? So if I have something like this should give me what? 4. Can you do it in one single step? Just one step, no while loops. But yeah, Autumn's approach is correct. And Janvi also mentioned something, you can right shift and take a counter, whatever. That can be done. What if I want to do just like one single step? Okay, imagine this is a number n. Okay, fine, but we can't take too much time because we have a lot to cover. Let's take 30 seconds. Divide the bit result number by 2. What is that going to do? I'll give you a pattern and then you can think about it. So the pattern for this n number is basically equal to this. I can represent this in such a way. 1 comes over here. This is this particular one. This is going to contain B. This is going to contain A, where A is equal to 1, 1, 0, 1, and B is equal to 0. Sound good? Okay, you won't be able to solve this because we haven't learned about negative numbers yet. So basically, we'll learn about it later on, but just for now, if I take the negative of this number, negative of n, that is basically going to give me A complement 1B. Okay, so if I do the AND of these two numbers, if I say A1B, A complement 1B, and this is 0, 0, 1 and 1, 1, A and 0, 0. Answer. Cool. We'll see why this is A. This is the thing. But if I'm saying that, yep. So just do this thing. You can just say, no, answer can be, this is your answer. Though you can just do something like without a while loop. I mentioned don't use any while loop. So the answer is actually equal to this. Answer is equal to, all you need to do is n and negative n. That is your answer. No iteration, nothing. N and negative n. That is it. You don't even have to do this thing. Everything will be done by its own. That is your answer. Input n, print n and minus n. That's it. Even though internally this might not be constant time. Actually, this is going to work for all the, can you explain what you mean, Autumn, by like 2's complement negation? Because, yeah, go ahead.
Wait.
Go ahead. Yeah.
If you're using a signed bit for negative numbers, then if you negate a number, you just flip the signed bit, and then if you add them together, I'm pretty sure you just get the number back itself, right?
I think it's going to work for signed numbers. Not sure why it won't.
I mean the implementation of how numbers are signed. So like the 2's complement if you implement negative
Mhm.
numbers using 2's complement, then it works. I think if you implement them with signed bits, it does not work.
Isn't 2's complement the same thing as like signed numbers? Like
Is it?
the most significant bit, if it is 1 in 2's complement, why do we do 2's complement? We do 2's complement in order to convert a number, right? To find find out the negative of the number. So for others, 2's complement is basically you need to find a negative of a number, then you do 2's complement of it. And this is a very interesting topic. Let's learn about this. So we're talking about negative of a number, and basically when we're talking about negative of a number, then you do 2's complement. So if I'm saying the negative of a number, then and in any particular number, if I have a binary representation of a number, let's say I'm storing my number in 1 byte, okay, in the memory size of 1 byte. 1 byte is actually what? How many bits is 1 byte? Anyone? 8 bits. Cool. Let's create an 8-bit spot. Okay. So this is an 8-bit box. Actually, this particular bit, it's known as most significant bit, MSB. And this represents the sign of the number, whether the number is positive or negative. If this is equal to 1, it means that the number is negative. If this is equal to 0, it means that the number is positive. All the other numbers you can only store in the remaining number of bits, which is equal to 7. So can anyone tell me how many unique numbers can we store over here? Over here, we can either store 0 or 1. 0 or 1. 1 second. What is 2 raised to power 7? 128. 128. So 2 raised to power 7 is 128. So here we can actually make, so this can contain like 128 numbers, and this total particular one, if I'm taking all the 8 numbers, right? So if I'm taking all the 8 bits, it can contain 2 raised to power 8. What is that? I'm really good at, really not, 256. So total, you can form 256 unique numbers, considering both positive and negative. The range of which is going to be considered based on this, because it's going to be minus 128 till 127. So to sum up, if you want to store something like, 128 or 129 positive number, you cannot store that in 1 bit. Joe is saying something. Yeah, it's actually, this 128 was basically for just the 7 bits. But if I'm taking this entire 1 bit, I got confused a little bit, but yeah, you are right. To rephrase myself, if you're given a 1-bit number, what I was trying to say is that the total numbers that you can make is 256, but the ranges that you can go from is minus 128 to 127. The range is not actually 128. The range is minus 128 till 127, but the total number is 256. Now, why is this range not till 128? Can anyone tell me? Why is it not till 128?
We have 0.
Because of 0. Yeah. So because 0's 2's complement or negative of 0 is equal to 0 only. That is the reason this 1 bit is extra. So for example, let's first learn about, if this was confusing, then don't worry. We can now learn about, let's say, 2's complement. So the question is, why does 2's complement work to find negative of a number? Okay, let's first think about what is 2's complement. So 2's complement is basically, if you want to find a negative of a number, let's say 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1. Okay, you need to find the negative of this number. So first step that you need to do is flip all the numbers. That is the first step. This is actually going to become 1, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0. Second step is going to be add 1 to it. This is basically going to be 1, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0 plus 1. 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1. Answer. This is actually a negative number. How do we know that this is a negative number? Because the most significant bit is 1. This is a 2-step process to convert any number into a negative number. Make sense? It's a big refresher for me as well, Joe. So if I make any mistakes, let me know. Okay. Don't worry about why this is working like this. That is something I'm going to explain in the next step. But can you all understand how you can convert any binary number into a negative of its representation? If I'm saying what is going to be -10, right? So I can say 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0. Negative of this number, -10 in binary representation. Flip all the bits. That is the first step. 1, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, and add 1 to it. 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 in binary is 1, 0. 1 carry 1, 1, 0, 1, 1. This is actually -10 in binary if you're storing it in 1 byte. Make sense to everyone? Very simple. Just flip the bits and add 1 to it. Sound good? Please say something.
What do you mean by adding 1 to it? How do you add 1 to the binary?
Okay. Let's do from the very basic stuff. Let's do 10 or 19 plus 23. This is, let's say, decimal number. 9 plus 3 is what? 12. 1 carry over. 2 plus 1 is what? 3. 4 carry over. Sound good? Similarly, if I have something like an octal base, okay? So 23 in base 8 plus 16 in base 8. What is this going to be? 6 and something like no, not this one. Let me take something a bit more simpler. Let's take binary only. So for example, simple binary number, let's say 10 plus another simple, let's say 3. 10 plus 3. This is in binary format, okay? In order to make things simpler. So 1 plus 0 in binary is what? 1. 1 plus 1 in binary is what? 2. And how do we represent that? As 10. So here I was getting 12. This 2 came here and 1 went as carryover. In this case, I am getting 10. So wouldn't we follow the same procedure? 10 will go below, 1 will go above. Sorry, 0 will go below, 1 will go above. 1 will go as carry. Sound good?
Yes. Thank you.
And if we convert this into decimal, so 1 plus 0 plus 4 plus 8. Isn't this 13? And 10 plus 3 is what? 13? Correct? Sound good? Okay. I'm sorry about getting too much into this. I assure you we can do more sessions in the future. But this was like, I don't really like when a doubt is left unresolved. Last thing in this, and then we can move on to the question part. So why is 2 complements working? So basically, if we have any number that we had previously, 1011, the idea is that if you subtract any number with the zeros, you will get the negative number. 0 minus any number is equal to negative number. Is that fine by everyone? 0 minus every number is the negative of that number, right? Since this is stored in 1 byte, if I increase the size of byte over here, this is actually going to be neglected by the computer because it cannot store 9 bits. Make sense? In theory, this is something that we can write as, does it make sense? For example, if I'm saying 7 plus 1 is equal to 8. So 8 is actually this. Make sense? Right? If you have a number that is just like a power of 2, you can divide it in this way. Cool. This is what I did over here. So now our answer is reduced to okay. This is what our answer is reduced to. this is the first step. Isn't this the same as flipping the bits? This is the next step. Whatever answer you get, +1. This is the reason 2's complement works when we are taking negative of a number. Okay, too much theory. Now let's move on to the good part. Never mind. That was too much theory. Sound good? Is this thing clear? Very straightforward. Otherwise, people would be mad at me. Kunal, you're only doing theory, which is not good. Let's do another question. Let's say this was asked in Amazon, so maybe we can do this question. It's going to be fun. So so you have to find a magic number. You have to find a magic number of 5. So basically, you have to find the first magic number. Second, you have to find the nth magic number. So if I'm saying magic number, what is a magic number? So if I'm saying what is the first magic number is basically equal to, if I'm saying 5 raised to power 1, 5 raised to power 2, 5 raised to power 3. So if I say just 1 over here, this is the first magic number, which is equal to 5. Second magic number is going to be equal to 25. Third magic number is going to be equal to, what is 3 in binary? 1, 1. So this is actually 25 plus 5, 30. Fourth magic number is going to be equal to, what is 4 in binary? 1, 0, 0. So this is 5 raised to power 3 plus 5 raised to power 2 plus 5 raised to power 1, 125. So on and so forth. So now the question is, you are given a number n. Find the nth magic number. Now, is there anything in this question? Very simple, right? Pretty simple stuff. Just take 5 raised to power starting from 1 and multiply whatever bits that you're getting in the binary representation. You can maybe do and 1 and then right shift and just sum all of these things. You will get your answer. So if you are, can everyone do this? Anyone who is not able to understand how we need to do this? For example, if I'm saying, hey, find the 6th magic number. So what is 6 in binary? It's actually 110. So what is the answer going to be? 5 raised to power 3 plus 5 raised to power 2, which is equal to 125 plus 25 means 150. How simple? Right? So just check this bit, right shift. Check this bit, right shift. Check this bit, right shift. Till your number is not 0. Till then you can do right shift. Is there a way to do this without loops? I don't think so. Let me think. It's been a while. No, I don't think so. Can anyone tell me what is the time complexity of this going to be? Let me teach you something really nice. This is going to be a pretty cool stuff. Can anyone tell me what is the time complexity of this thing going to be? Or can anyone tell me how many times my for loop will be running? If I'm given a number n and I'm iterating through every bit of that number, how many times will the for loop be running? Anyone? Number of bits per word. That is correct. So if 6 is basically equal to, let's say 110. So let's say we are running it 3 times. How do we find this 3 times thing? How did you know that this contains 3 bits? Okay. So 30 is basically what? 3 representation of 3 in binary is what? 1, 1. So 5 raised to power 1 plus 5 raised to power 2 gives me 30. Representation of 4 is what? 100. So 5 raised to power 3, which is 125. That's it. Make sense? Cool. Okay, because time is short, I'm going to stop asking questions and start sharing. So basically the number of bits, this is a formula that will come really handy in LeetCode. number of bits, or never mind, number of digits in any number of base b is equal to what? Integer of log of that number base b plus 1. This is a formula. So the time complexity comes out to be log n. Okay, if you implement this formula, so if you just put 5 over here and 2 over here, it will give you the number of represent. It's very cool, you know, because if you use this formula and you're like, let me just, you know, let's code this thing. Just 1 second. Let me show you how cool this thing is. So if I just share my screen and the code sample, okay, where is the code sample? So we're trying to find the number of bits. Okay, let's say number is equal to 10. Let's say base b is equal to binary. So let's say this only, normal one. I can just say print my answer, and I can say answer is equal to, or I can say digits, and then I can just print digits. Import math. So I can say integer of math dot log n base b plus 1. So if I'm taking any number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, this should show me 8 digits because this number in decimal representation contains 8 digits. How cool is this? Right? Another question someone may ask, if this number was represented in a binary format, how many digits would that binary number contain? Just replace this with 2. 26. Let's do something simpler. 10. How many digits would the binary representation of the number 10 contain? 1010 means 4. Should give me 4. How cool is that? Cool stuff, right? If you want to say, if you represent this number in base 8, how many digits would it contain? It's going to contain 22 digits. Nice. Wait a minute. Can you see my terminal, or is my board still sharing? Okay, cool. All right. So that's how you get the number. Similarly, another question you may get from someone is, okay, I missed the chat. Let me check the chat. Yeah, because what Autumn said. Another question can be, you're given a number and find whether a number is a power of 2 or not. So if it's a power of 2, then what is unique about its binary representation? Can anyone tell me? If a number is a power of 2, what is unique about its binary representation? Are you sure it's all ones or only 1 1? Only 1 1. For example, this is a power of 2. This is a power of 2. This is a power of 2. In binary, this is a power of 2. This is a power of 2. So you can do this as well. You can just do maybe, what you can do is like, we can do it in one step as well, but that would be a bit too much. So basically, you know that whenever so basically I can say something like this can be written as this. We already learned this in 2's complement, right? So I can say that this minus 1 is going to give me this. That makes sense, you know? So basically n minus 1 is giving me something like 111. And I know that if I do 1000 and, 111, it's going to give me what? 0. I'm writing all of this in the chat. So basically the answer is if n and n minus 1 is equal to 0, then n is power of 2. Make sense to everyone? Is it too much right now? Do you want to take a break? Very simple stuff. You can see it in the chat. Makes sense, makes total sense. Okay, you can also run a loop or whatever you like. Another question that is an interview question is find x raised to the power n using bitwise operators. Homework. Okay, you can do that as homework. Okay, another questions. There's so many questions you can do. There's like number of for example, number of numbers between two numbers that are divisible by a particular number. You can do this via bitwise operators as well. But anyway, that was it about bitwise operators. No more bitwise operators. Just go to leetcode.com and select bitwise operators. You will find all these questions there. All right. Now let's do something like, yeah, fast multiply. That's fast multiply. Yeah, that one. Yeah, you're correct. Let's now look into range queries. Okay, but this was important. Did you have fun learning bitwise operators? Hope I didn't bore you. I'm gonna take like okay, I got an important text. Just 1 second. Okay, just give me a second. I will be right back. Okay, let me give you a question and then we can like go ahead with it. So basically the question is you are given let me share my screen, or let me just write it over here. So basically you are given an array containing n numbers from 0 to n. So basically you're given array like, let's say 1 0 4 3. My getting a call and then this is like headphones got disconnected. We'll have to fix that. Anyway, so you're given a number array something like 4 0 1 3. Okay, so basically you are given numbers from 0 to n. As you can see in this array, if you're given numbers from 0 to n, so in this case, if in this case n is equal to 4, which number is missing? Can anyone tell me? 2 is missing. You have to find that number. That is the question. So you will be given n is equal to something, and that particular list would be given. You have to find out which is something like that. Okay, I'll be right back in like 2 minutes. All right, I am back. That was an important call. Ooh, lots of discussions. Nice. Give 1 second. My screen got disconnected. I'll only take 15 more minutes of your time. I just need to explain one more pattern to you, and because this is important. Like yesterday we did sliding window. This is another pattern. Important stuff. All right, hit me. Unmute yourself and explain how you would go ahead with this.
I think Adarsh.
One
should
second, my
explain.
mic is. These headphones are great, but like for multiple devices, it does not work very well.
I think Adarsh should explain since
Now
they
it's
got a
working.
good one.
Nice. I'm sorry, what?
I think Adarsh should explain since they got a good one.
All right. Anyone can do. Feel free to unmute yourself. So given a number like an array that contains numbers from the range of 0 to n, find the missing number. Since an array only has n numbers out of the total n plus 1 numbers, you have to find the missing number. Wait, no one? Brute force would work as well.
You can so you can
No, 1 second. Let's give someone else a chance. I want to hear others say as well. Anyone? Brute force approach, like the very worst approach you can come up with. That's also fine and important in coding interviews. By the way, me and Will are going to be doing a mock interview Thursday, 9 a.m. Pacific time. So make sure you join that. Just please make sure we just are available like on this call for 15 more minutes because this is an important topic. Let me just put my Apple Watch on charge. Alrighty. Anyone? And why is your cam off? Feels very bad, Joe is saying the worst I can think of. You can unmute yourself. Text is very small. And it's like 12 a.m. here. 12:10 a.m. So it's
The worst I
officially.
can think of.
No, I was just saying it's
I can
officially
think of-
Wednesday here. Yeah, go ahead.
Congratulations for reaching hump day. The worst I can think of doing is a sort, then iterate through that until the one prior is not. That's the-
Exactly. Yep, that is correct. That is the answer I was looking for. And time complexity for that would be what?
ON or no, sort. So ON log n, or sorry.
N log n.
Yeah.
N log n.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Cool. Any other solution that comes to mind? If it's consisting of numbers from 0 to n, what is the sum of all the numbers from 0 to n? There's a mathematical formula. N into n plus 1 by 2. Right? Does that make sense? And if you sum the entire array, that will give you some sum s. If you subtract that from the total sum of n into n minus 1 by 2, wouldn't that give you your answer? Linear, constant space, right? That is not what we're trying to do here. Okay, cool. So this particular algorithm is known as cyclic sort. Okay, this is known as cyclic sort algorithm. But yeah, so basically when you're given an unsorted array or a sorted array or whatever, in the range of 1 to n, basically if any question is given to you from the range 1 to n, like numbers consisting from range 1 to n, it's 99% you're going to be using cyclic sort. Okay, so another new pattern you learned today. Let's see how we can use that actually. So share screen. OneNote. not OneNote. OneNote does not work very well. GoodNotes. Alrighty. Second. Cool. So let's look at this particular thing. What is cyclic sort? So cyclic sort basically means that when you have a particular number or an array, something like this, let's say you have 3, comma, wait a minute, where'd my, okay, 3, comma, 1, comma, 4, comma, 5, comma, 2. So the idea is that you are going to start from the very first index. Okay. So then you're going to check whether this is at the correct index or not. Okay. So basically what you're going to do is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. I can say if I have something like 5, 0 here. Okay. So basically I'm going to check for this. Is 3 at the correct index? I'm going to start my I from here, my pointer from here. Is 3 at the correct index? It's going to be like, no, it's not. Then I'm just going to replace it with the correct index. Swap. Okay. So answer will become 5, 1, 4, 3, 2, 0. And now I'm going to check again. Is 5 at the correct index? No, it's not. Swap it with the correct index. 0, 1, 4, 3, 2, 5. Again, is 0 at the correct index? Is it? Is 0 at the correct index? Yes, it is, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 0 is at the correct index. We are sorting this array, right? We're making this should, in the end, it should read something like this: 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So is 0 at the correct index? Right? Then you move ahead. Is 1 at the correct index? Yes, move ahead. Is 4 at the correct index? No, swap. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is 2 at the correct index? Yes. Is 3 at the correct index? Yes. 4 at the correct index? Yes. 5 at the correct index? Yes. Answer. That is how you cyclic sort an array. Only for ranges 1 to n. So basically another question can be, if you're given an array of range 1 to n, sort it. You can use cyclic sort. You can sort it in O of n. Okay. Coming back to our question, that you are given something like, let's say, we were given something like, for n is equal to 4, we have 4, 0, 3, 1. 2 is missing. We need to figure out which number is missing. Find out. How do we know 2 is missing? Again, it should click in your mind that we are using range 1 to n. So basically we're going to be using cyclic sort. Start from here. Right. So basically, oops. Don't need an extra page right now. Okay. So basically, each number we are going to compare it with the index -1, because here it's starting with 0. So basically, I'm going to say that, in each number is actually not index -0 equal to index only, because we're starting from 0. That makes sense. Similarly as previous one. Okay, forget what I said. It's like almost 1 a.m. here. So basically, similarly, the same thing we did before. Is 4 at the correct index? It's going to be like, no, it's not. Then it's 1 second. How do we do this thing? We might need to change something. We would have to ignore n. Okay. We would have to ignore 4. Okay, ignore 4, because we cannot put this in the array, because this is like we are actually taking from 0 to, you understand, right? I cannot put 4 here. in this array because 4 index does not exist. So I'm just going to ignore this. Okay, move ahead. Is 0 at the correct index? No, it's not. Then swap it. 0, 4, 3, 1. Now is 4 at the, no, I'm going to ignore this. Is 3 at the correct index? No, it's not. Swap it. 0, 4, 1, 3. Then everything is over. 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Then whichever index contains the one that is like not equal to the, so basically if after sorting, after doing all the sorting, the number that is not equal to the, sorry, the index that is not equal to the number minus 1 is my answer. So answer is basically index plus 1. So in this case, 1 plus 1, 2. Make sense? Sound good? This is important because even though we could use a sum one, like summing all the numbers and stuff, but what if you get another question like given a range of 1 to n, find all the missing numbers. Given an unsorted array from 1 to n, find all the duplicate numbers without using any extra space. So what are you going to use in that? Cyclic sort. Sound good? Cool. Okay. There might be a few numbers that are occurring like multiple times as pairs or something. So you can do that as well using cyclic sort. Or you can do find the, you're given like numbers from like 1 to n, or like let's say you're given just an unsorted array containing numbers. You have to find the smallest missing positive number in it. That is also something that can be done with cyclic sort. Okay. Cool. Let's code the cyclic sort part. And I'm pretty sure you will be able to do this because trust me, because in the previous lessons also we saw that all the particular answers were similar. So we can just code the cyclic sort part and rest you can do on your own. Okay, let me stop screen sharing. Geeks4 says it's quadratic. How is it quadratic? Well, Geeks4Geeks could not be more wrong. It's linear. Geeks4Geeks is wrong. You can report this. It's wrong. Or maybe they're using some other algorithm or something. It is never going to result in more than n iterations of the loop. In worst case scenario, total calls will be n minus 1. Right? So overall is what? Overall is big O of n plus big O of n minus 1, which is equal to big O of n. They might be doing something different.
So I'm reading the Wikipedia. Wait, hang on. Yeah, I'm reading the Wikipedia article, and I think it's saying it's if you try to use a cycle sort when it's not on the certain range of like 1 to n, basically.
Okay, that makes sense. So if you're using cyclic sort that is not in the range of numbers, in that case maybe. In our case, if you're using range of numbers, it's O of n. Then why would anyone want to use cyclic sort if it's giving n squared? Can't you use a merge sort or quick sort with n log n? Anyway, what you have to keep in mind is if you're given any number from range 1 to n, a list of range 1 to n, without even thinking twice, apply cyclic sort. Let's code this and then we'll wrap it up. Wait a minute. I think it's sharing my code sample again, right? The whiteboard. Let me stop the whiteboard thing. This sidecar thing is so great. Nice. I was using Zoom last time and it was like not at all giving me good handwriting. Desktop share. cyclic sort, and then we'll be done for the day. Even though we did not code much today, but you learned about a lot of concepts. So I believe it was beneficial to you all. Sorry for going too much in theory, but if I just code and don't explain anything, no one will understand. Okay, so find the missing number. So basically you can do find the missing number, range 0 to n. Okay, so for example, if say input is equal to, oops, list is equal to something like 1403. So in that case, answer should be 2. Okay, that is what we're trying to do. So you can say did cyclic, so we can say find missing number. I can just add my list here, right? And then I can just say I is equal to 0. I'm going to start from, the very first one. And let's say the length is equal to, no, 1 second. So while I is less than length of list, that is correct. I can say j is equal to, not nums, list of I. And then I can say if list of I is actually less than n, because I am skipping that particular one, the last number, because I don't have an index for that. And list of I is not equal to list of j. That basically means you have to swap list of I, comma, list of j is equal to list of j, comma. This is very easy to swap in Python. Can anyone tell me how this is swapping this internally? Can anyone tell me what this is doing? How does Python swap like this? Anyone? Otherwise, I plus equal to 1. That's it. And now we just need to, this is above 1 is the cyclic sort. And now just we need to find the missing number from its index. Okay. For I in range, the length of li, that is the n for us. If list of I is not equal to I, return I. Otherwise, return n. Does Python do a 3-way swap? Try it. I'm not sure, but you can always try it, right? Okay. That was it for today. This is pretty much about it. If you want to run it as well, you can run it. Print find missing number. This should give me 2. Obviously, we are getting an error. N is not defined. Sorry, length of li. You're getting 2. Make sense? Nice. M intervals and bitwise. Even though the code was nothing today, mostly theory, still I pushed it. All right. Okay. Did you all like the session today? Was it beneficial? Learned something? Right? Even though we didn't hands-on code much, but we looked at a lot of nice theory and patterns and all these things. And the next questions you can do is like, find all the missing numbers, find all the duplicate numbers, find one duplicate number. Cool. Number theory was good. Nice. Tomorrow we'll be doing, and please don't be limited to these sessions. Google, there's so many nice YouTubers who have created tons and tons of playlists on LeetCode. Utilize that, try to solve LeetCode. Even if you solve 4 questions daily during this coding interview session, 4 or 5, more than enough. So tomorrow we have a recruiting talk by Facebook, and tomorrow we'll learn about linked list and heaps. I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be not 1.5 hours. Linked list and heaps, both. Wow, I don't know how I'm going to, I mean, you know what? I'm going to prepare for this one. For now, till now, I have not been preparing. I'm just going ad hoc, but for this, I'll prepare. Linked list and heaps, both of these in same session. Don't know how we'll do that. Stop the recording.